Hello and welcome to another episode of the Hearthcast, where we discuss the design, mechanics, and all other aspects of Hearthstone. My name is Bryce, and I am joined as always by Andrew as we dive into our first impressions of the newly announced expansion, Knights of the Frozen Throne. First off, for anyone who didn't catch the event, we're going to take some time to go over the new details and mechanics that were revealed to us.
Alright, so first off, we got the theme, which is the Frozen Throne, the big seed of the big bad Arthas. But we are not going to be joined directly by Arthas this expansion. We are actually going to be joined by all the other heroes being turned into Death Knights. Yes, through the use of an entirely new card, the hero card, you'll be able to take your favorite hero and kill them and turn them into an undead version of themselves, which looks pretty awesome. And they have new effects. The cards themselves have battle cries and armor, but we'll get into that in a little bit. They're also adding some more mechanics such as lifesteal. So that being said, Bryce, what do you think about the actual theme that they've chosen?
The theme, I like it a lot. We went over this before, and I didn't actually think we'd get a Lich King expansion, but I was proven wrong. I do like the theme. When I played Warcraft the most was when the Lich King was the Wrath of the Lich King expansion was when I played the most. So it's something that I personally have a lot of experience with. And the idea of turning your hero into a Death Knight kind of goes into what we talked about you were kind of hoping for a Death Knight class, so we kind of compromised and just made it kind of your hero evolve into a Death Knight, which I think is a really cool mechanic and kind of forego some of those challenges that I brought up on our last video. Seeing that they're able to add new hero powers is something that I also was super excited for. But overall, the theme, I really like it. I really like that we're going to be able to, go have that adventure and go against some of the bosses from Icecrown Citadel. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, that was super awesome, and it's super awesome of them to make it free as well. That one actually surprised me. I did really like I love the idea of new hero powers and new ways to use that. That's actually something that we brought up in our last video where we predicted it, so we kind of called that, I guess.
Yeah.
But overall, I don't have as much experience with WoW as you do, but I'm a real big lore guy, real big lore nerd, and as such, like, Arthas is one of my favorite characters in the lore. Probably I'd have to say my favorite villain of it all. So it's really exciting to see that and see that brought over to the other heroes of Hearthstone and WoW, and see how that affects them.
Now, overall, the new hero classes that they're adding, for anyone who might not understand, it kind of works like Jaraxxus, the first Warlock Legendary. It's a card that you play. It has a mana cost. You play it and it replaces your hero. But in this case, they all have a battle cry, so you play it and the battle cry goes off. So in the example that they gave is we have Deathstalker Rexar, which is obviously the Hunter class card or hero card. And the battle cry deals 2 damage to all enemy minions when it's played, and then it also gives you 5 armor. So you keep your life total, but you gain, armor. I'm sure each hero will have its own total. But then after you play it, your hero power is also transformed, and again in Rexar's case, you discover 2 different beasts, and it has been revealed that it's you choose between 3 different 5 mana or less beasts, and What it does is it combines them. So their mana cost gets combined, their attack totals get combined, their life totals get combined, and also their effects get combined. So they showed a player who chose Rat Pack. So it's the 3 mana 2/2 beast that when it dies, it summons a rat for each attack point. And then they also, I can't remember the second one, but pretty much he used it to boost the Rat Pack's attack so that it spawned more rats when it died, and also gave it more life, just make it more of a sticky minion, and also gave it whatever that second card effect, I can't remember right off the back of my hand, but that's something that's really cool. It does go to your hand, so you do have to use the hero power and then also play the minion, which is a little slow, so maybe they're pushing for more of a control hunter, but I think that's really cool, and I'm excited to see what they do with the rest of the classes. I think it's a really cool mechanic. I always like using Jiraxis, and this is kind of a way to interact with your hero power a little bit more, since that's kind of gone down with getting rid of the Grand Tournament expansion and the Finley and League of Explorers. It's going to add a new depth of different hero powers we can use.
I'm super excited to see what they do with all of them. Excited to see all the different possibilities. They definitely, I will have to say, Blizzard definitely bit off a big chunk with this. There's definitely a lot of things that they have to think of that I'm sure they've already thought of, but just stuff there's the superficial stuff. I really hope that they pay attention and make separate art for the hero skins, like Murgle, Medivh, all those. Because I would really, really like to see a Death Knight Murgle.
I think we all would.
That'd be pretty fun. And but there's also balance issues, that they need to take into account, because if you're not careful with say the priest, if you make theirs really good, you also run the risk of it snowballing out of control with stuff like Raza, because then you have this awesome effect, but you also get it for free every turn, which is manageable right now because it's only being able to heal yourself or a minion every turn, which is good but not overbearing. But I'm sure that they'll I'm sure that they've thought of all that.
Yeah, and again, same thing with the mage for it'd be in Wild, where you have the Koldara Drake, which can make you cast it as many times as you want, and then if you combine it with the Lady of the Lake, which also is from that set, that reduces the hero power by 1. In Wild, it could completely destroy it just because mages could play their hero card and then get cast their hero power for free infinitely. So they gotta keep in mind on that. I know Wild isn't their top of the line, what they worry about, but that would be a huge change, and that's something that they couldn't ignore.
One of the other ones, kind of moving on from the hero one to the other big mechanic reveal of this, was the lifesteal mechanic. Personally, I like the idea of it. I think that it's yet another tool for slowing the game down and sort of being able to control things and how they play out. But it kind of lacks the sort of wow and fun factor of previous expansions mechanics, Discover and Adaptability.
Yeah, it's definitely a less exciting one by far from pretty much any of the other new mechanics that they've ever added, whether it be Inspire or Discover or Adapt. It's definitely one of the more, for lack of a better word, boring. But it is something that I like, and it's kind of in the game through the Mistress of Pain and the Paladin Legendary Burn Bristle, Wicker Flame.
Yeah.
So it's nice that they're adding that as more of a permanent a mechanic in the game. And like you said, I'm glad it exists. It exists in pretty much every other card game I've ever played, whether it be Lifelink and Magic, or I think it's Drain and the Elder Scrolls Online card game now. It's something that really helps control decks, especially because it just lets you be a little bit offensive and deal with your opponent's minions, but also still heal you, so you don't have to sacrifice board control for staying alive. Allows you to do kind of both at the same time. The couple examples we have of the new card with Lifesteal. The first is a Paladin common card, Chillblade Champion. It's just a 4-mana 3/2 charge Lifesteal. So it seems like Lifesteal is coming with a pretty hefty mana cost. I mean, the charge I think is kind of what gives it the most mana cost bonus, but it being a 4-mana 3/2, it's really weak. It's not really going to take out your opponent's 4 drops or 5 drops, and it may not even take out some 3 drops. So it's pretty weak, but it does allow you to heal and maybe pick off a couple weak minions, and it's also really good for taking out the Shaman totems, the Flame Tongue totem, and the Mana Spring. It pretty much 3 free life, and you take out one of their good cards. And then we also have the Priest common spell, Spirit Lash, which deals 1 damage to all minions, and then you lifesteal all the damage you did. So this hits both enemy minions and your minions, so you have the potential to heal for a lot. It's only 2 mana, so you can use it early game kind of as a Maelstrom portal, which is really good for Priest because they do lack early board clears and early board control cards. And the fact that it gives lifesteal makes it also able to be used later in the game to heal up to 14 life, but more recently more like 5, which is pretty good for 2 mana and doing board clear damage.
Yeah, it's definitely something I'm excited to see the rest of the ones that they add in there. And it definitely has its niche, like it definitely was needed. And it actually is surprising, like it's surprising and not surprising. Like it's obviously, like you said, it's been in the game already, but it hasn't really been promoted, and it wasn't a staple until now, which was sort of odd. But you know, better late than never.
Yeah, definitely.
So with this expansion being about Death Knights, there's obviously going to be a lot of death, and where there's death in Hearthstone, there's Death Rattle. So one of the other cards that was revealed was the Shallow Gravedigger, which is a 3-mana 3/1 neutral rare that has the Death Rattle. Add a random Death Rattle minion to your hand. This is an okay card. I think it'll be good in very niche situations, but overall it seems understated, and it just seems like a worse version of the what's that continent right now?
The Stonehill Defender.
Stonehill Defender, yeah. It just seems like the Death Rattle version of Stonehill Defender, but worse.
Yeah, like it's kind of sad to see, because in the history of Hearthstone, almost no 3-mana 3/1 has ever been used. They've made quite a few. The only one that's ever seen any play is the Scarlet Defender, and that's just because it has Divine Shield, so it can't be easily pinged off by either a mage or a hit by a druid or a rogue, you know, and just spending 3 mana for something that the other classes have to spend 2 mana to take care of and not spend a card to use. I would love to see it as a 3-mana 2/2, but I understand that it kind of invades the ground of some other cards like the Undercity Huckster and a few other cards that have kind of a similar stat line with similar effect. But it just being 1 health kind of sucks. I know it has a Death Rattle, so it kind of depends on dying, but using that Death Rattle and then getting a random Death Matter in your hand, and then you have to play that Death Rattle again, you know, it's really slow, and it doesn't have any board presence at all. The only kind of deck I see this going into at the moment, of course, we've only seen 5 cards from the new set, But I mean, right now it could help the quest priest because you get 2 death rattles for 1 card slot in your deck, so it could allow the quest priest to put different tech cards in their deck instead of adding 1 extra death rattle. If you for some reason include 2 copies of this card, that's 4 death rattles for 2 cards. That's pretty good value when you're trying to get more death rattles for your quest. But other than that, it's a little underwhelming. I wish they would have maybe opened with a more powerful, exciting death rattle card, but it kind of does go with the theme of more and more death rattles coming.
But on the plus side, you're never gonna have to worry about not getting that death rattle off.
Yeah. I mean, you're always going to get it, and no one's going to waste a hex on it. So you will get the death rattle, and the odd chance you get a Tyrion out of it. That could that's one of the effects I didn't really mention is that it does not say class specific. So you could be getting a Tyrion as a warlock, or any of the other powerful death rattle cards from any class. So that could be a plus, but that's highly random. So.
The last card that was revealed right now until the next reveal on the
24th.
The 24th, wow. Yeah, that's going to be a while, so. But the one that we have right now is Prince Keleseth, which is a 2-mana, 2/2 neutral legendary that has the battle cry. If your deck has no 2-cost cards, I'm assuming it's excluding that card, you give all minions in your deck +1/+1.
Well, I think the no 2-cost cards would be just in your deck. So if you've drawn the cards, then it'll work. So obviously you want to count because you've drawn them. Just similar to like the one copy of each card that we've seen. But yeah, it's hard to evaluate this legendary because in the past 2-cost cards have been so powerful in any deck. It's kind of a staple. There's some classes that can get away with it, like the Warlock. Usually, even doing a lifesteal on turn 2 is great. Gives you more card advantage, gives you more options. But the fact is that you'd have to most likely include no 2-cost cards and use this early. You'd have to draw it, which isn't always guaranteed. And then if you skip out on having 2-cost cards, that's a lot of staple neutrals and class cards that you're missing out on. And it just seems kind of hard to make use out of it. Maybe in zoo decks it would be pretty good, but even those decks use some 2-drop, so it's hard to say at this time whether that's going to be a valuable effect. But I do like the theme. I like the buffing. I like the cards that kind of try to dictate how you build a deck. I always thought that was a cool idea. It does remind me of the Mistcaller, the old Shaman legendary. I think, maybe Goblins versus Gnomes, I think, where it was a 6-mana 4/4 that just gave you the effect without a condition. But it's a little another underwhelming card that they revealed. I wish they would have revealed something a little more, to get you excited to build a deck. But it's pretty cool nonetheless.
Yeah, it doesn't really spark a whole lot of conversation, which sort of sucks for our end. But it also doesn't really spark a whole lot of creativity, like you were saying, because I'm sure a lot of people are, when they saw, say, the whole zombie stability of Deathstalker Rexar, people instantly was like, oh, this combo. Whereas Prince Keleseth, like, there's maybe a few like interesting things you could do there. You might be able to build something. You might be able to get around the whole not having any 2-cost cards by, maybe even like getting Hemet in there. Get Hemet in there, and you just shoot out the rest of your 2-mana cost ones, and then you can still have them for whenever, and then you just shoot them out when you don't need them and play Keleseth. Like you said, it'd probably be good in zoo ones, but other than that, it's not really. It's interesting in that it's like a Reno-like ability, but a little bit different, and it definitely will pave the way for more interesting ones, I feel like.
One other thing that they didn't specify that I'm sure a lot of people are interested in knowing is that since they have the hero class cards as legendaries, is this going to be another expansion where there's 2 class legendaries per class? Now, my instinct would say yes, because it would be. I understand having 2 class legendaries, especially when one set of legendaries is kind of the same card, just with different class themes. It's kind of exciting to have another legendary to kind of be more of just a general class legendary card. But it, like the other expansion, it was mostly frowned upon just because it seemed like you had to have 2 legendaries for every class for a lot of the decks because they just went so well, or just it seemed like you were missing out, and it just felt like you had to have twice as many legendaries than previous expansions. What do you think they're gonna do with this?
Well, I think they're already taking steps, actually, because right now they've got the Midsummer Festival celebration going on, where we're earning twice the amount of gold
For quests.
Yeah, for quests. Yeah, they've already announced that they're going to be changing how the packs work, so you're guaranteed to get a legendary within the first 10 packs, and then you're guaranteed to not have duplicate legendaries. So that'll be nice. They're going to be doing a similar thing to what they did with Cthulhu, where you go through the free adventure, and at the end they give
It's actually only the first wing, the prologue, is where you get the free.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. But once you beat that prologue, then you get a free card, and I believe it's just a random one.
It is. Unfortunately, they still don't let you pick, which kind of sucks. But at least you do get one now.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that they are definitely taking the steps and making it a lot better and a lot easier for people to get into it and get into new expansions.
Yeah, that's something that we can all appreciate, especially getting more people into the game. It kind of brings more fresh blood, kind of helps develop the game the more people have played it. So it's just nice that they're doing all these promotions, especially right before an expansion. Normally in the past they've done some shady things where like they'll do something right after an expansion launches, and it's just like the damage is already done by that point. But it's really glad that they're doing it even a month in advance. They're doing all these promotions to help people build up gold and help them so when they do finally get the packs that they actually get cards they want and cards they can use. It's really good, and I'm really happy on their end. It's definitely improving the public image of the game, which before this had kind of been going down. Their PR, people have been thinking less and less of the game. I think this is really boosting everyone's spirits back up.
Yeah, it's definitely been really nice to be able to see that and see that them putting the effort into things.
Since we kind of went over everything that we know at the moment, is there any cards that you'd like to see, or maybe like a theory crafted card, maybe something that pushes a design aspect?
I would like to see, just going off of one of my favorite classes, the priest. Judging by the key art for the expansion, it looks like Anduin is like sort of giving himself up to the void. And as we know, that sort of leads to Shadow Priest shenanigans. And so I would hope that we see a little bit more of an aggressive priest from that. So we'll see how that works out. I'm not entirely sure what they can do because they already have Shadow Form as a card itself, and they have other cards that allow similar effects. So if we can figure out I'm sure they figured out a different way to get that. But I hope that they do that, and that sort of makes me wonder what they're going to do. If they're going to make all the hero cards unified, or if they're going to be a little bit different, like mana cost wise and stuff. Like basically, are they going to model it the same after quest, where instead of 1 mana for everything, it's actually going to be 6 mana for them all, which is kind of it's hard to tell right now since we only have the one to go off of, and because the hunter one is 6 mana, which is really slow for a hunter, and control hunter has like never really been a thing. So that can go either way. It could be this is their way of fixing that, or they just wanted to make it a thing, and so they specifically chose for it to be 6 mana. And other ones we might see the priest being like a 3 mana one. And likewise, is that going to change the armor values and stuff like that?
Yeah, I really hope that they all have their own mana cost and armor and whatnot. Because if you keep it all the same at 6 mana or whatever mana, it kind of limits design space. Because obviously you can't have something that's super powerful that costs 1 mana, but maybe you want to, you can't have an aggressive card that costs 6 mana or more. It's just not possible. Kind of limits what they're able to do with the classes. I, for one, also think that a more aggressive focused priest would be cool. I mean, priests have almost always just been a control or a mid-range class. They've almost never had any aggressive cards. 2 mana slot has been pretty shaky for priests ever since the game was first created. They've tried. You got like the mana geo that was kind of tried to help, but it was still just a little too underwhelming. But I'm hoping they do. Do reverse of the classes. Like, Hunter it seems more focused on control getting, and a minion you can always get every turn is something very powerful to control. It allows you to not run out of steam. So maybe, even like all the other classes will kind of get the reverse of what they've always been known for, kind of like a mirror of the hero. So I'm really hoping that's kind of the direction they go to. What do you? So they did say that the Lich King would be a card. What do you think he's gonna do?
That one's gonna be hard. I think one of two things. One, it is going to be a 2-in-1, where he's going to summon Invincible, since that is another iconic part of Arthas. I think they're gonna do that. Because they could also do Frostmourne, but that seems like it seems like they can't really do anything really interesting with that. And with something like Arthas, like, it needs to be interesting. It can't just be like a battle cry version of Tyrion, where just you play him and you get Frostmourne.
Yeah, I was thinking that he works similar to Tyrion, although I don't really agree with that. But I think they could do a lot more with Frostmourne as a weapon rather than just getting Lightbringer, which is just a fight-through weapon. I thought maybe you get Frostmourne either as a battle cry or a death rattle or what have you, and when you kill a minion with it, you get that minion and it takes control of it. Kind of what Frostmourne is all about, killing things and then turning it to its side. So I think that'd be really cool design and go with the theme of the card as well.
Yeah, I would like that. Another similar death rattle one. I don't know, just off the top of my head, I don't know if it would be. It's probably a little bit too vanilla or too bland, rather, for a legendary, especially a legendary of like Arthas's like caliber. But one that comes to mind that we don't have yet is a death rattle that allows you to discover a minion that has already died and resurrect them. Sort of similar like Shadow Visions, but for resurrecting.
Yeah, that's also a card that I've seen, like player created cards, and there's a card like that. I think that's really interesting. Kind of allows you to set up combos by maybe you let something die just because you have that card in your hand. You can make sure you get it again, and you'll get double value out of it. But I'm really excited to see what they do with all the Ice Crown bosses. Those were some of my favorite times in WoW, fighting those. I'd love to see Mr. Bonestorm himself, Marigar. Like to see, they said for sure Professor Putricide and the Blood Queen. We already got Prince Kelistad that's part of that. So I'm really excited to see. It's going to be a lot of nostalgia for me, so I'm pretty excited.
Yeah. Not necessarily nostalgia on my part, because I sort of joined a little bit late to that party, but I do love the Death Knights. I love that whole aesthetic. I love all the ideas behind it, the lore behind it. So I'm equally as excited.
So with that, I hope everyone else is also just as excited as us. It does seem to be quite a different direction from Hearthstone's normal kind of happy-go-lucky style. This is more of a dark style. I'm really happy to see what they do with that. Super excited for the free story mode that they're going to be doing with all the expansions from now on, and I hope everyone just gets as much out of it as they all want to. I know I'm really excited, and I'm sure Andrew here is really excited.
Oh yeah, ecstatic.
And pre-orders, you can already pre-order. You get that cool Frostmourne card back. So without any other things to add, myself, Andrew, you got anything?
No, I'm just waiting for the 24th to roll around.
Yeah, I can't wait to see more cards. So just real quick, I'd like to give my personal prediction for the release date. I'm going to go with August 17th. So that is, I'm pretty sure that's a Thursday. If not, then I'm wrong already, but I'm pretty sure that's a Thursday. Mark it on your calendars.
If not, then the closest Thursday to the 17th.
All right. So I'll see you guys all later.
All right, have a good one.